Thank you, Stephanie. Obviously, we're all here today to pay tribute to those who died in Benghazi, so no one forgets what happened that fateful night. And especially, no one forgets why it happened. Ty Woods and Glenn Doherty sacrificed it all in an act of incredible heroism. And Charles, you must be very, very proud. The events behind this tragedy amount to a gross abuse of power, and as Stephanie so well put, the abuse of secrecy by the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, and the President of the United States, Barack Obama. Behind Congress's back and without the knowledge of any of us in this room, using Saudi Arabia and Qatar as a cutout, Hillary Clinton secretly ran guns into Benghazi to arm the moderate Free Syrian Army. Anybody ever heard of a moderate Islamic army? No. No such thing. This same moderate FSA entered Syria and massacred an entire village of Christians, armed and paid for by our government in a secret program, which none of us knew about. The weapons that were sent by our government wound up in the hands of al-Qaeda and ultimately ISIS, our mortal enemies. This was our first overt glimpse of what I call the shadow government. Some now are calling the deep state. It's become a popular term. Back when I began first speaking, it was a very lonely experience. I think I'm going to get a bumper sticker that says I was talking about the deep state when talking about the deep state was not cool. But simply put, the shadow government is those parts of our government which reared their head in Benghazi that operate in secret. Without the knowledge of the American people, they're run by unelected officials that manipulate the Congress, the president, and the judiciary. And as we now know, have weaponized our intelligence apparatus against a duly elected president. What has emerged is Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee, or DNC, with the help of senior intelligence officials in the CIA, in the FBI, in the NSA, enter into an operation spying on Americans in the Trump campaign through NSA surveillance and through planning longtime CIA spies within the campaign itself. With the help of those senior officials, a literal soft coup against a sitting president was being conducted and is being conducted. There's no question about it. What's startling is this coup involved John Brennan, director of my former agency, the CIA, who was at the center of this operation, involving the NSA, which unmasked over 300 names of Americans illegally. Who was charged? Who was indicted? Who was even mentioned in the news? No one. It was done in secret. Spying on Americans in the Trump campaign showed us unfathomable corruption at the highest levels of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And there's a connection here. Hidden deep in the dark reaches of the shadow government, the swamp that's been there for decades. Senior officers, as I mentioned, of the FBI and CIA have been Clinton fixers for decades. When they talk about the shadow government, deep state, the swamp, we're talking about people that have been put in place since Bill Clinton was president of the United States, and they've been put there intentionally. And we see Benghazi, and we see a soft coup now against the duly elected president. CIA Director John Brennan became close friends with Bill Clinton as his daily briefer on intelligence, and they've been close friends ever since. During the Whitewater, we're going to see a pattern here, a shadow government, high-level corruption pattern here that you don't hear about much or at all on the news. During Whitewater, during the fraud investigation, guess who it was that protected the Clintons from prosecution? Who was at the FBI at the time? James Comey, Robert Mueller, and Loretta Lynch. Protected the Clintons from prosecution. And it goes on. The HSBC Bank was caught laundering huge amounts of money from drug cartels in South America. Guess who protected HSBC, the CEOs and management from criminal prosecution for money laundering? Robert Mueller, FBI, Loretta Lynch. And even more shocking, guess who was on the board of directors and ensured that all the CEOs walked from criminal charges? James Comey. When Clinton National Security Advisor Sandy Berger was caught stealing top-secret documents from the National Archives to protect the Clintons by stuffing them down his pants. Now, this is the National Security Advisor. And he doesn't know that there's cameras in the top-secret areas of the National Archives. They caught him on camera stuffing these things down his britches. That is a Title 18 U.S. Code felony, and a big one. But he was not prosecuted under Title 18. Guess who protected him from criminal prosecution? I bet you can guess. James Comey. Robert Mueller protected him from criminal prosecution under Title 18. We see him again, don't we? And it goes on. When Hillary Clinton received campaign donations from a Russian oligarch connected to Uranium One, you remember that? Guess who was in charge of the FBI counterintelligence investigation against the Russians during that transaction? Robert Mueller. It was Robert Mueller who looked the other way and signed off on the transfer of 20% of our uranium, but it gets worse. Hillary Clinton received $145 million from a Russian oligarch connected to the uranium sales, which went into her foreign bank accounts, which purposely protected it from FOIA requests or the scrutiny of Congress. As Bill and Hillary operated the largest unprosecuted charity fraud, international charity fraud in history, guess who failed to proceed with the investigation and prosecute? What a surprise. James Comey, Robert Mueller, and Loretta Lynch, the three amigos. Are we seeing a deep state connection here going back decades? This is how they do it. When it was revealed that Hillary Clinton was operating a secret server for all of her Department of State business, as we know, much of it classified, then lied under oath and destroyed all the information and the devices that were subpoenaed by Congress, all violations of Title 18 U.S. Criminal Code, including espionage. All the evidence is there. There's no doubt about it. Why hasn't she been prosecuted yet? Why hasn't she even been indicted yet? I hope to God that's going to happen after the midterms, because if it doesn't, it makes our whole criminal justice system a sham. Now, guess who protected her and essentially committed obstruction of justice? Guess who protected Hillary Clinton from charges? Guess who? James Comey and Loretta Lynch, both of which obstructed justice in a criminal investigation and could very well be facing indictments themselves, we all hope. Then, when Hillary Clinton, through the DNC and its law firm Perkins Coie, laundered money to hire a former British intelligence officer to obtain false information from Russian intelligence on Donald Trump, that information came from Russian intelligence officers in this dossier. You going to hear that on the major news anywhere? Heck no. But that's where it came from, Russian intelligence. Guess who was involved in that operation? The soft coup, the dossier, the false information from Russian intelligence. What a surprise. It was James Comey, Robert Mueller, and Loretta Lynch that stopped that from a criminal investigation. The three dark amigos. Are we seeing a pattern here? You bet we are. A pattern of deep government corruption at the highest levels of our government. The highest levels. For decades, Hillary Clinton has been protected by senior members of the FBI and the CIA. What in the world does this woman have on these people? Well, we can conjecture. I know a little bit, but we can conjecture. But it's amazing how these people have protected her for decades in the highest levels of our government. They've obstructed justice. these senior officials knowingly lied under oath, altered documents, redacted documents that were not classified, that had their names in them, going all the way back to Hillary Clinton when she was First Lady and was given a CIA clearance illegally. No background investigation, no required DSKID regulations by the CIA, ordered by the president. She had her hooks in the shadow government deep state as First Lady, and that's where she began her coup all the way back then. You just heard that this afternoon. So, we have to ask, as Americans, where are the indictments? Where are the charges? Some of us are a little upset at Jeff Sessions. We'll see what happens after the midterms in the next 3 days, which are so important to our democracy. We'll see, but my goodness gracious. Enough is enough. Millions of Americans are fed up. I happen to be one of them. We saw that in the election of Donald Trump. People are fed up, and that number has grown. During the Kavanaugh hearing, we witnessed senior Democratic senators lie to the American people. No conscience and no concern for the truth. It's clear. Now, I'm not a Democrat nor a Republican. I'm an independent, but I'll be pulling our levers this time, I can tell you that. It is clear that the DNC will do anything to further its version of democratic socialism in America. Anything. Lie, cheat, steal, fabricate. We've all seen that. They'll do that. They're doing it. Essentially, the DNC, the Democratic Party is not the same Democratic Party as JFK. That's what some Democrats need to understand. It's not the same party. The Democratic Party has changed completely. It is now an umbrella organization for groups determined to eliminate America's founding principles, remove its Judeo-Christian foundation, and change parts of the Constitution itself, especially the First Amendment. Too much freedom for these religious folks. Mind-boggling. They push for abortion up to the 9th month, birthing the baby's head and severing its spine with a scalpel. Where is their conscience? They're teaching transgender sex to 2nd and 3rd graders in our schools. Jimmy, you really could be Janie. To our children. In our libraries, drag queens are teaching 3 to 8-year-olds they could be part of that lifestyle. Now, in my degree in forensic psychophysiology, we were taught, it's known in psychology, that the most important imprinting years in a child's life are from age 1 to 6 or 1 to 8. Once they are imprinted, especially with trauma, their personality is stained for life. These are 3 through 8-year-olds listening to a drag queen talk about dressing up like a woman, and maybe they could do that themselves. Not my children, you don't. Not in this country, you don't. Not anymore. With a willing major news media, most notably CNN, and I've been watching that for decades. I used to travel overseas, and that's the only news they had. It's been like this for a long time. Most notably CNN, the mainstream media primarily is pushing propaganda, making Marxist principles, mob violence, lying, and attacks on families and people of faith look normal to people. And then they publicly destroy anybody who disagrees with them. That pillar of our society has been corrupted. And sadly, they make the Constitution appear, and they teach this in the universities now, they make the Constitution appear to be an old, outdated document written by bigoted men, bigoted European men. That's why we see the attack on that group lately, because they want the Constitution and the Bill of Rights changed because it doesn't fit socialism. 3 days. This is the time now for patriotism. It's a time for real courage, and it's time for action. Enough is enough. They've poked the bear. Thank you very much.